Hello everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be making some cards with the Pink and Main Squeeze the Day monthly card kit. I started out making this watermelon card and it is a layering stamp. There are 3 pieces to it, but I chose to do something a little different. I did cut some masks off screen and I stamped down the rind of the watermelon with Lawn Fawn, one of their green inks, and I masked and stamped all the way across without an outline, excluding this one right here. And you can see the one has an outline but none of the others. That allowed me to feature that one watermelon slice over the other. I chose a sentiment that says "one in a melon" and stamped that over one of the other watermelons. I heat embossed that sentiment using clear embossing powder. Then I chose a Mama Elephant die and die cut the panel. I placed that on a piece of the pink cardstock from the kit, and I die cut a sentiment "thanks" from Twice the Thank dies, I believe from Simon Says Stamp. Might have been MFT. I adhered 2 die cuts together using my glitter glue here, and then I adhered my panel to the pink cardstock. I got my T-ruler out so I could get my sentiment straight, but it doesn't exactly work that way. If you looked at this card in person, you would see it is not quite straight. For my second card, I chose this plaid pattern paper and this green stripe, and I stamped the outline of several of the fruits from the stamp using my Ink on 3 blackout ink onto some Nina cardstock. And then I stamped the layer parts of the stamp with some MFT and some Lawn Fawn inks. I used yellow for the lemons, and I think it was called Lemon Drop. And then I used a green ink from Lawn Fawn for the limes, and a darker green from My Favorite Things for the leaves on the lemons and the limes. I chose some Lawn Fawn inks and an orange, I believe it's called Persimmon, My Favorite Things ink, to do the stamping for the slices. I wanted a combination of oranges and grapefruits, so I used combinations of orange and peachy pink colors to achieve that. Once I had them all stamped, I fussy cut my images, and then I played around with the layout. I know I wanted some of the fruits in the back and some of them up front, and I stamped my sentiment on this die cut banner or label from the die cut set. It says "Squeeze the Day." I began to layer my pieces together. I had trimmed the plaid paper so that it would leave a little border of the pink that I chose to use, and I decided to use some peel-off stickers from Love from Lizzie. I chose black. These are nice. I do like them, but this look could be achieved with black cardstock. I just happen to have these in my stash. I see everyone use them and they look so easy to put on. I struggle. Anybody else struggle with stuff like that? So I put some foam tape on the back of a few of the fruit pieces, and then getting ready to adhere everything, I took the backer off so that it would just be easy to place everything. I adhered the back row down flat. And then popped up the front row. And then also popped up the sentiment label. And then finally adhered that to the pink cardstock from the kit. I added some white gel pen details to each of the fruits, and then used my clear glimmer, whatever it is, pen to add some shimmer to the fruits. I do know that if you go over the white gel pen, it will sort of vanish, so I was very careful to go around it. These rhinestones came in the kit, and I added 3 of those. One in the peachy orange, one in yellow, and one in green. Cards 2 or 3, 4, and 5 were all created the same way. I used the lined image to stamp a tone-on-tone background on each of these. I picked out the dies that I was going to use to create my card and pulled some black cardstock from my stash. I die cut everything off screen, enough for 3 cards. And then I stamped and heat embossed my sentiment using white embossing powder on each of these black label die cuts. Once I had that completed, I trimmed down all of my panels so that they would leave a little black border when I put my cards together. And I began to lay out my pieces. I decided to add some white heat embossed hearts to this panel with the oranges, and I was going to add white heat embossed hearts to all the panels. In the end, you'll see that I abandoned this idea and only one of these panels has these little white hearts. I used a paintbrush to clean off any stray embossing powder that I had, and then I heat set that. I used foam tape on the back of a few of my pieces to add dimension. This larger heart and the middle-sized heart, but I left the small heart adhered directly to the card panel. And I pulled out this Simon Says stamp tiny phrases, tiny words stamp set. I wanted to add an additional tiny sentiment, so I stamped the word thanks just a few times across the bottom of this cardstock, and I trimmed them out into really tiny little labels. And I adhered the panels to the black cardstock. I used my number 10 Jelly Roll gel pen to add additional details to the stamped backgrounds. And to the heart die cuts. It just adds additional interest to a very simple card. For my final card, I took this piece of foam tape and another piece of the backer, and I made sure that it had that backing tape on both sides. And I picked a die that would fit. And I ran this through my little Sizzix sidekick and die cut this heart into the foam tape. If I had the wider foam tape, I could have used the bigger heart, but I don't. I almost don't even have this, well, to date, I don't even have this foam tape anymore because it's used up. So I die cut those hearts. And you see where that little pink die cut heart is? That Spellbinders mat actually has a magnet in it. A few videos back, I talked about how I was going to lose the pin for my art glitter glue. This mat has been a lifesaver because I just put the pin down and it's magnetized right there, so it won't roll away. So here I was deciding on how I wanted to lay out my card, and I wanted to use these little fruits, and I really wanted to use the strawberries, so I was making sure that the strawberry would fit inside my little die cut hearts. And I die cut 3 hearts and this little label from the main panel, and then an additional white label to be inlaid. And I used some washi tape behind the opening just to hold that in place. I wasn't sure how those scallops would line up. Wanted to make sure when I stamped my sentiment it would fit in there straight. So I just stamped that with my ink on 3 blackout ink. It says the very best. No, it says the berry best. And I almost screwed up. I almost just stuck that down. But here I took a piece of the acetate that was in the kit, and I used my ATG and I adhered the acetate over the hearts that were die cut into the panel. And then I lined up each one of these foam tape die cut negative heart pieces over each one of those, and then used the remaining bit of foam tape that I owned to fill out the back panel. I even used those hearts that I had die cut on the panel. I wanted to use just the strawberries, so I took the time to find a few of the strawberry slices for inside my hearts. And I knew it would be difficult to line this up with my background, so I took the piece of acetate that was left and trimmed it off and just put small pieces over the back of my shakers just so my little strawberries wouldn't fall out. And then I adhered that down to my pink panel. And I picked out some additional fruits. They were the strawberries and I think what looks like raspberries, and added a few of those to the little sentiment label. It's not so much as a shaker as trapped pieces. I thought it was kind of interesting. So this is where I was finishing up my final details for these cards. I did add some of these rhinestones to each of the citrus thank you cards. You can see they're very similar. They aren't identical, but they say "so sweet of you" and they say "thanks." So I added green to the green with the limes. I added yellow to the lemon card, and that orangey peach color to the orange. And here are some finished pictures of the cards. I would love to hear what's your favorite. Tell me if you learned anything, if you have any suggestions for me. I would absolutely love to chat with you in the comments, and I appreciate you stopping by. Please like, subscribe, and share my video. That would help me out. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.